Hello everybody and welcome to Retro Ratchet. So in this video I'm going to introduce our new project car series. So this one is going to be my £1,000 track car challenge. So I've went out, I've bought a little car. You'll probably have identified what it is by now with the view on the camera, but I'll reveal it halfway through the video. My budget was £1,000, yeah, so not the most generous budget in the world. It's more like a Scottish budget for track cars. I'm going to do the bare minimum required to see it round Knockhill on some track evenings, so it probably wouldn't stand up to full track days with the spec that I'm considering. So as long as it does 3 or 4 track nights this year, I'll have achieved my goal. So those of you that subscribe to the channel will remember I did have a track car about 6 or 7 months ago. It was a Mark IV Astra Coupe with a Saab B204 conversion in it. And I did say at that time I wasn't going to do any more track work this year, but I went up and I watched a few track evenings and I did kind of miss all that fun round the track. So rather than fire a whole load of money in, the idea is just to do this on a bit of a shoestring. The last time, I think all in, I was about 4.5–5 grand. The car itself was just under 3, and I did spend quite a bit of money on various different bits and pieces getting it up to scratch, and it was quite labour intensive. I also ended up doing welding, which I end up doing on every single car. So hopefully I'm not going to have to do any welding in this one, and overall the condition of the car is actually pretty decent. So later in the video I'm going to do a full walk round and we'll go through some of the more important points. Right, so put in the comments guys if you've done a similar thing, tried to do some track evenings on a shoestring. How did it work out? What type of car did you buy? What were the modifications that you've done? I'd be interested to see how you got on and how cheap you managed to do it. Right, so there's a different camera angle. So if you all guess what it is then, Citroen C2 VTS. I bet you didn't see that one coming. So we've just picked the car up. We've got about 35 miles to drive it back home. It was a private sale. The car itself is sitting on 85,000 miles. I think it's in decent condition for £1,000. It's had the all-important cam belt done and the clutch done. So 2 jobs I just finished on the A4 that I really didn't fancy doing again on another car. So a couple of big plus points there. And when we do the exterior walk round, I'll explain some of the other jobs that I intend on doing on it. So, no hitches so far. Well, that's actually a wee bit of a lie. We went to put some petrol in it after we just picked it up. It only had 1 bar in it. It was saying about 25 miles, but in reality I didn't know how far that was actually going to get us. And there's an issue with the key fobs, where the key itself was detaching and coming out of the fob. So I didn't really bother about that when I first pulled away. I just put the key in, I put the fob to one side, started it, off we went. Filled up with petrol, obviously took the key out to open the cap, and put the key back in, and then the car would just not start. It was just turning over, and it was saying immobiliser fault. So I'm guessing that's probably because the key fob button part was not near the ignition barrel. I remember we changed all this on the Astra, and there was a pickup point, so I'm assuming that was the reason. So reattached all that, put the key in, and then luckily it started. So yeah, I was sweating a wee bit there with that one. But yeah, so we're 20 miles into our journey at the moment, going down the M8. It's like I said, 65 mile an hour. First impressions are, you know, the car does rev quite high, and it's only a 5-speed gearbox. I mean, if we pull up to speed limit, 70 mile an hour, we are at 3,750 revs, so yeah, it is quite buzzy. Good thing is I zeroed that when we left, the 49.5 to the gallon, so it looks like it's going to be quite a frugal little car. There's a wee spanner light on the dashboard indicating it does need a service, so I am aware it does need a decent service and going over. So when I test drove it, you know, I was surprised at the fact there was no knocks or clunks or bangs with a steering wheel that sits dead centre. Obviously clutch has been replaced, so that's great. Typical woolly, vague gear shift, as is similar with all C2s, and quite a high bite point on the clutch, which again is another characteristic of these. But yeah, there was no issues, no smoke out to under acceleration, no fluid leaks. So all in, you know, it just looked like a decent car. I checked out the floor and the sills as best I could. I mean, they're obviously fitted with a body kit, so you can't get full access to the sills, but it did look reasonable underneath, so fingers crossed the outer sills aren't rotten behind that body kit. I probably just won't remove it, so I will never ever know. But yeah, so far so good. You know, decent little car, nice driving position. These are very, very revvy. I think the red line on it is about 7.2. It doesn't actually show you on this little strip rev counter here, but from what I gather it's a 7.2 red line, and you do have a little quirky shift light here in the middle, so that's pretty cool. And obviously the digital speedometer here, so yeah, that's quite nice. Okay guys, let's take a wee walk around the C2 VTS and let me know what you think. Right, so at first glance I think it's actually in pretty decent condition. I mean, it's obviously not damage free, there's a few wee scratches and scuffs around it, but other than that there is nothing major. I mean, if you take a wee look at these back arches, they actually look reasonably mint, don't they? So who knows what's lurking under that body kit on those outer sills, but certainly from what I could see from underneath, everything looked okay from the floor, but I don't think we'll be digging in to find out. So these as standard sit on 16-inch wheels. They suit it pretty well actually, because it is a tiny, tiny car with relatively big wheels. Look in there, got a wee VTS badge. I think that S is meant to be red. Maybe see if we can get a replacement one of them. Front wing on this side looks pretty decent. All the alloys could do with being refurbished actually, to be fair. Some scratches there on the front splitter. There's your view from the front. These headlamp lenses could probably do with a wee bit of a polish. And again, that alloy's a wee bit worse for wear as well. This is the only bit of body damage. This wing, you've got a wee bit of rust coming through here. The paint's peeling there and a couple of wee dents. But to be honest, it doesn't stand out that far. And right the way down that side, it's in pretty decent condition, I think. And that back arch is also pretty good. Let's take a wee look round the back. These only have a single exhaust there. I mean, the tailpipe finisher could probably do with being cleaned or replaced. It's pretty minging. But again, it's not the kind of car I'm going to be restoring. There's wee badges on there. It's got a wee boot lid spoiler as well. It looks pretty smart. But overall, for a £1,000 car, I think it's pretty decent. And this is our under bonnet view. There's no massive amount of space around this thing. So this is the 1.6 16 valve, the same as you would find in a Saxo VTS, putting out 125 horsepower, red lines at 7,200, so it is actually quite a fun little unit. I've not had a detailed look under the bonnet so far, but the only things I've found is we've got a leaky oil filler cap, so that'll be getting replaced. The cam cover could probably do with being resealed as well at some point. You can just see a wee bit leakage around there, but nothing major. But coolant's fine, oil's fine, nothing's mixing, so that's about as far as I got. But we will give it a good service anyway in due course before we take it on the track and try and give it a wee bit of a clean up, all these plastics and stuff. And this is your interior view. My only criticism is it is a wee bit dull. These seats with the black cloth could have done with something a wee bit more sporty, some red in there. And there's the dashboard, which I think is pretty cool. We'll get that ignition on. Yeah, so digital, and obviously you've got your wee strip rev counter at the top there. You've got your CD radio there. This one's got aircon on. I haven't actually checked to see if it works. And we have a 5-speed gearbox down here. So yeah, it's pretty decent. And in there, if you can see that for sun, yep. And in there, we've got a little fuel computer with various different functions on it, and showing a rather unbelievable 23 degrees tonight. So yeah, interior is decent condition. We'll give that a full valet and detail, and we'll see where we get to with that. Right, okay guys, we're going to give you a quick demo of what it can do on country roads. That's where all the fun is, and this thing really starts to pick up over 5,000 revs. Below that, yeah, it is a little bit flat, but so what do we reckon, guys? How much fun is this for only 125 brake horsepower? I mean, it's the overall package. You've got a low curb weight, you've got a wheel in either corner, it's got quite a lot of grip, and it sticks to the road like glue, this thing. So I think it could well have been a decent choice for Knockhill. Once we get these brakes upgraded, some decent tyres on it, and a wee service, it'll certainly be interesting to see how well it performs in real life. I mean, obviously it's not the fastest thing in the world, but as long as you keep those revs up, it's pretty respectable, I think. Right guys, so what do you think of my choice for a wee cheap track car? Good choice or a bad choice? Put in the comments if you've owned one of these yourself and if you've used it on a track. I'd be interested to find out how you got on and what mods you've done. Like I said, I'm not going to go wild with this. It's going to be a very mild build. We're going to change the brakes, front and rear pads, front and rear discs. We're going to get some decent pads for the front, and then we're going to change all the tyres, and then we will see how we got on with that. And if you want to see more content on the WC2, then stay tuned because I'll have lots of videos coming up.